Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday, September 2nd. Corpus Christi City Council meets today at City Hall. They will vote on whether to continue the Inner Harbor desalination project or scrap it. If they vote yes, the city will close this week on a $210 million state loan to help finance the $1.2 billion project. If they vote no, it's back to square one with another contractor and no guarantee of a cheaper deal. The agenda also includes the public hearing and first reading ordinance for both the city's operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2025-26. The full meeting agenda as well as public comment session signups are available at corpuschristitx.gov. Victoria City Council also meets today at 5 p.m. in the City Council chamber at 107 West Juan Lynn Street. On the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance to approve and adopt a more than $250 million budget for the City of Victoria for fiscal year 25-26. Also, the first vote on the fiscal year tax rate will take place today, with the final vote happening next Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the City Council chamber. You can watch the City of Victoria Council meetings online at victoriatx.gov. McGee Beach Park in Port Aransas is getting a major upgrade. Nueces County Precinct 4 Commissioner Brent Chesney confirmed to KIII News the park will receive a new $1.1 million boardwalk.
There's going to be a 2,550 linear foot boardwalk that will have shade kiosks, 3 or 4 of those on the boardwalk. It'll have parking on both ends. It's completely American Disabilities Act compliant.
Chesney said the upgrades are part of a larger effort to keep Port Aransas a top destination for locals and tourists. He also confirmed the boardwalk will connect to the nearby nature park. A Crossroads resident has officially brought a complaint against the city of Seadrift over allegations of unlawful asset disposition by an alderman. 25 News Now reports the complaint alleges that Alderman Paul Gonzalez committed an unauthorized transfer of a canine unit named Roscoe to a private entity before Roscoe was officially commissioned by the city of Rockport. Minutes from a July 2024 Seadrift City Council meeting describe part of the city's final actions with Roscoe. In a public safety report from Gonzalez, he said several police departments examined Roscoe, seeking an additional canine unit. Gonzalez said that Roscoe would be, quote, medically retired due to medical issues, end quote. About 2 months later, the city of Rockport had a resolution regarding Officer Roscoe on the agenda for a city council meeting last September. The resolution authorized Rockport PD to receive Officer Roscoe from the Lavaca River Ranch and, quote, formerly of the Seadrift Police Department, end quote. The now former American Bank Center officially became the Hilliard Center as of yesterday. The law firm offered $13 million for the naming rights to the venue. The Hilliard Center will continue to host concerts, events, and conventions and citywide gatherings as the building transitions to its new name and signage. In this week's episode of Civic Threads, we take a look at some taxing terminology with City of Corpus Christi Director of Finance and Procurement, Sergio Villasana Jr. He recently stopped by the KEDT studio to chat about 5 terms that we'll cover in today's episode. First up, no new revenue tax rate.
The no new revenue tax rate is what is that tax rate you would set in the new year to have the same amount of revenues you generated this past year. And so any growth in values of existing properties is kind of adjusted for so you can see what that rate should be.
Next term, voter approved tax rate.
So the voter approved tax rate is based on taking that no new revenue rate and increasing it up to 3.5%. Once you go beyond that 3.5% increase, that will trigger a vote.
Villasana then went on to break down revenue and maintenance operate rate.
So the no new revenue maintenance and operation rate is part of that no new revenue tax rate calculation. And so what that is, it carves out specifically what is your maintenance and operation tax rate should be. So just kind of taking a step back, your tax rate is made up of 2 different rates, one being for maintenance and operations of your city, and then one that's called INS, so interest and sinking fund, which is essentially your debt payments. And so those are 2 separate rates, and what the state looks at is really your maintenance and operation rate. Trying to keep that in that 3.5% increase is what the purpose of the voter approval rate is. So that's where that maintenance and operation rate comes into effect, where you take that no new revenue maintenance and operation rate, you increase it by 3.5%. Once you go above that, you're going to trigger that election.
Villasana then shifted his focus to interest and sinking rate.
So that rate is calculated based on your existing debt service. You have a commitment to these funds that were used for infrastructure and major projects for major improvements to the city, and you have to set a rate in order to meet your debt obligations. And so that in itself is its own little calculation with within this. It's like, I think, a 10-page calculation.
And our final term for today, unused increment.
So the unused increment is kind of an allowance provided by statute. And so what that is if you adopt the no new revenue rate or a proposed rate below the voter approval rate, the difference between the voter approval rate and the lower rate you adopted, that creates an increment. The difference between those two rates gives you kind of an allowance that you can save up in future years, to where if you have a need to go above the voter approval rate, you can use that unused increment without triggering the election.
Anytime you hear about tax rates in Texas, chances are these terms will make their way into the conversation. If you would like a recap of these definitions, you can replay today's episode of South Texas Midday wherever you get your podcasts. KRGV reports that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Rio Grande Valley conducted a worksite op at 2 construction sites in Harlingen last week. ICE arrested 9 Mexican nationals that were in the United States illegally. The arrests were made last Wednesday. La Grulla residents have been informed of low water pressure in their area. City leaders posted on Facebook that the water tower level dropped and residents are being asked to limit water use. That includes washing your car and or lawn. It is unclear how long the low water pressure will last. Meanwhile, back in Corpus Christi, the Ray High School Fishing Club is in need of equipment to accommodate for its growth. Jeff Johnson, the teacher who leads the club, told KRAS 6 News about 60 students have signed up. However, the club faces a significant challenge with equipment.
All the gear that we have is non-existent.
Johnson currently brings his own fishing gear to get students started and hopes the community can help provide equipment. The fishing club has received 1 donation from No Live Bait Needed and continues asking the community for support in any way possible. In sports, Brownsville ISD started the 2025 boys varsity football season without Sam's Memorial Stadium, where the playing field is nearing conversion to a football and soccer complex. The $3.1 million project will see Joe Rodriguez Field at the stadium converted from a football track and field into a football soccer complex to host boys and girls soccer matches, boys varsity football games, and eventually UTRGV Division I football games. Originally, Sam's Stadium had been slated to host this past Saturday's inaugural UTRGV football game, which was moved back to Edinburgh. Recent weather has set back progress at Sam's slightly, according to the Brownsville Herald. BISD Athletic Director Gilbert Leal told the Herald that significant rain last week set the project back. As of last week, the contractor was waiting for a 4 to 5 day window to pour concrete at the back of each end zone. And on the subject, the start of high school football season is always a big deal in Texas. But this past weekend in the city of Kerrville, the Friday night lights shined extra bright and with deeper meaning. Texas Public Radio's David Martin Davies shows us that when the Tivy Antlers took to the field, it was part of the community's healing from the July 4th flash flood.
At the Kerrville Independent School District Tivy Antler Stadium, Rebecca Kreider has been selling tickets for the last 25 years. But this night's game is different.
I feel honored to be in the presence of all those involved in the rescues, and I'm glad they were here.
This is the first varsity game since the big flood, and it's being played to salute the first responders who showed up when disaster hit, which included a flyover of National Guard Black Hawk helicopters.
We are proud to introduce our first responder, honorary captain, for this first varsity football game. Represent the bravery and commitment that keep our hill country community safe.
In the early morning hours of July 4th, a stalled cluster of thunderstorms dumped over a foot of rain that funneled into the Guadalupe River. It rose catastrophically, almost 30 feet. Without warning, a wall of water smashed into holiday vacationers and summer camps. At least 135 people were killed. At Camp Mystic, a Christian girls' summer camp, 27 lost their lives.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
On Friday night, a survivor of Camp Mystic, 12-year-old Skylar Darrington, sang her own rendition of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Our faith was strong, you showed as a KISD hero. Their willingness to put others' safety above their own.
School bus drivers were also being recognized for their bravery. During the flood, they became first responders and came to the rescue of children trapped by the floodwaters. That morning, Kerrville High School Principal Rick Sorilla organized a convoy of 10 school buses.
Very difficult driving, very difficult terrain, mud, all those kind of things. And we arrived at the camps. The camps were doing a good job of keeping the kids, kind of a triage session. But we arrived and there were kids in their pajamas with their stuffed animals.
Sorilla said he sees his own students dealing with the trauma of that day.
We didn't know their stories when it was happening, but after a while, they surface and we help those needs. We've got lots of help for all of our children, all of our family, all of our community members.
Sorilla said part of that healing is football, which is more than a game. Before kickoff, in the locker room, head coach Curtis Neal addressed his players.
When we get out there, support one another. There's going to be great things that happen. There's going to be some things where we're going to have some setbacks, adversity. It's going to hit us square in the mouth. We got to hold on to one another. We got to support one another. And we just got to regroup and go. It's that simple. Everybody got it?
Yes, sir. Touchdown, Titans!
The Antlers took to the field against the Del Rio Rams. They gave their community something to cheer about, winning the game 40-21. I'm David Martin Davies in Kerrville, Texas.
And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.